Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Super-Fanta-Fi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Upload, Season 3, Episode 5. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, let's start off with Luke's circumstances. Obviously, I was like, is Luke doing what I think he's doing? And yes, last episode, it seemed like he might be interested in kidnapping one of the AI people and selling them for like some money or whatever. And he ends up tricking the AI guy into going to the gray zone. He sells them to this guy, Zalan. But, you know, finding out like Zalan doesn't treat him like a him and more like an id, and he's going to dismember him and find out all that he can about the AI. It's like, okay, cool. How about I'm just going to leave. And he got it so that the AI guy escaped, but he gets stuck, which I love later on. He's held prisoner. I don't know why. Maybe this speaks volumes about Zalan that he has Luke in a slave Leia outfit. It's like, I guess you gotta dress to fit the part. You know, no kink shaming. If it's like, is that your thing? You like someone in a slave Leia outfit? That's your business, you know? Everyone's got their thing, right? But, yeah, because of being in danger, Luke ends up calling Nathan because he needs help. But then, other Nathan ends up calling one up, which I'm like, wait, this is the first time he's finding out about both Nathans, which I'm like, how has it been that we're 5 episodes into this season? There's been a copied Nathan since, episode 1 of the season, right? How is it that you've managed to avoid each other all the time? Because it's not like, it's only been a few days. Like, a lot of time has actually kind of passed, as we've learned, because Nathan's been downloaded for like probably 30 days, if not more at this point. So how did you manage that? It's just, I mean, I get Lakeview's a big place. To be fair, Luke has been in his fills and he's kind of been down, so... But it's like, this is the first time you find out about both Lukes. But the fact that, both Nathans, and they're finding out, OG Nathan knows about, as we refer to him later on, backup Nathan, or the cheap knockoff Nathan, sadly. So they want to meet up, but it's like, no, if he goes in there, that could cause some issues. So Nora's going to go in instead to help, with the whole rescue Luke thing. And I love that it's like, and for her, it's the first time she's ever thought of it. She's like, 2 Nathans, 1 Nora. She's like, never fantasized that before. I was like, wow. I was like, really, Nora? Considering the circumstances, that's where your mind went. But yeah, she's about to meet Nathan, which I love that it's almost like I love like the meta-ness of it, because it's like, yeah, I've been through this conversation before. He's like, Nora, because at first he's like, Tinsley? And she's like, no, it's the real me. It's like, we're literally having the same conversation we had last season when we ran into each other again. So I'm not about to go through that again. We've already kind of been through this. I was with someone, but now I'm with Nathan. And even Nathan's like, wait, is that why you ignore my calls for months? He's like, I don't know whether to high-five myself or be jealous. She's like, oh, come on, you should high-five yourself. And Nathan's like, I'm jealous. Okay, I guess I should be jealous then. Which is so sad, because also poor Ingrid being like, what? I have no idea what's that's all about. I'm actually going through a tunnel. It's like, but aren't you in the tub? I'm going through a tunnel. It's like, man, that sucks. And especially seeing them together, because it's like, yeah, Nora already has her own Nathan. Why does she need to come take this Nathan from me? Because once again, it's so sad, because Ingrid doesn't have a lot outside of Nathan. Both in real life, and things I think are a little different in Lakeview. But it's just like, and I think that's an interesting direction her story ends up going. And since I'm already on the topic, I'll shift over to that. But yeah, she decides like, I'm so done with Nathan, because it's like, well, OG Nathan left you for Nora, so you don't want to take the chance that now that this other, because it is that thing of this Nathan still has feelings for Nora. That hasn't gone away. It is, once again, it is kind of sad, because it almost feels like this Nathan's settling for, but he, but that's, he found out she wasn't really uploaded. She was honest with him, and it seemed like they were in a good place. But then the problem is, it's like, yeah, but still those feelings for Nora persist. So it feels almost like settling, which I like. Yes, we all like Nora, but it's also at the same time, it's like, I feel bad for Ingrid. Yeah, Ingrid isn't always the best, but you do feel bad for her, because like I said, she always feels like she's growing, she's taking a step forward, and she always ends up taking a step back. And it's just, she has made a lot of progress over the series. Once again, she's always taken a few steps back, but still. she's trying, and I do truly believe what she had said like earlier this season, where it was kind of like yeah, I deserve someone who like will love me for me, and it's just like she shouldn't have to be. You should never be someone's second pick, or I'm not. That's the thing. It feels like backup Nathan. Like, that's what we're going to refer to him as from now on. It feels like he's settling, and it's like, no, Ingrid deserves better than that. So, and she tries to like, you know what? I'm putting Nathan behind. I'm no more like goggles, no more like virtual reality. And I love that she put that out on all her social medias and gets no likes or anything. She's like, really? No likes or anything. Okay, so she calls up her buddy Mercedes and tries to pretend like, no, everything's great. Like, you know, like we should hang out. I mean, because outside of all this Lakeview stuff, we haven't, I want to say season 1 is the last time we saw any shape or form of Ingrid's life. I mean, especially after her parents cut her off, like she hasn't really, other than like interacting with like her mom and her brother last season, that's about it. Like that's her only real interaction aside from like one-off interactions with people last season. She's been very cut off from the world. And maybe that speaks volumes. Because like I said, she has grown in a lot of ways. And so when she's around Mercedes, it's kind of a thing of she doesn't like Mercedes because she's not that same person anymore. And yes, she has some of her like not so great Ingrid qualities, but there's a lot of good things about Ingrid and how much she's grown and changed. And so it doesn't mesh with the life she kind of led before. And so it's, you know, she's become our circle trying to fit in a triangle. Like she used to be a triangle, being able to fit perfectly in the triangle life that she had, but now she's shaping into a different person. She's become a circle, and it doesn't quite fit. Well, depending on the size of the circle. I guess I should have picked it. I should have said rectangle. You get the terrible analogy / metaphor I'm going for here. I butchered it, but you get what I'm trying to say. It just doesn't fit. So it is a situation of, like, because she was around Mercedes, and I guess because she is trying to stay out of virtual reality, like, they had, like, what was it? It's horsey something. It's some kind of, like, Pilates class, kind of a virtual Pilates class, but it's kind of like, no, she didn't vibe with it, and it's like, oh, you don't look good, like, kind of like, it almost meant to be like but that's not a diss or anything, but Ingrid's like, you know what? I am awesome, I am great, and you, like, she was just pissed at Mercedes, like, they would have been, because she's a lot like Mercedes typically, but now it's like, no, I'm not, like, you know, I don't need this BS, and she goes back to the virtual world, and goes back to Lakeview, and she's happy, because for her, it's like, this is home. It's like, that speaks, you can live your life. You would rather be in Lakeview. It's not even just about Nathan anymore. You legitimately feel at home here. To be fair, you spent so much of your time here now that you spent more time in virtual reality than you have it. To be fair, let's also not forget she does actually have a job now too. So, because I think they brought it up last episode. She was like, oh yeah, I kind of got the day off because there was like an outbreak of something. I think she was talking about, but it's like, yeah, she still has a job. So she is meshing between both. I'm curious, are we going to see Ingrid by the end of this season decide to fully upload, because it's going to be a thing of, I'd rather be in virtual reality than live my own life anymore, because it's like, what do I have on the outside waiting for me? Just responsibilities? But like, we don't really see, like, she hasn't really made any real friends in Lakeview. The only person she's really hanging around, it's like, arguably, and I brought this out in a previous episode, I think her and Tinsley might end up being friends, I think, interestingly enough, but outside of that, like, her world's always revolved around Nathan, but it's still just kind of like, she enjoys Lakeview and stuff, and I don't know, it's starting to feel a lot more like home, and maybe she'll start treating it like such, because it's like, oh, this is the perfect place. It is heaven for those who have uploaded, and for Tinsley, for Ingrid, where life hasn't always been great, you know, in the real world, it's kind of nice to just be back here, you know, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see how that goes. But circling back to the Nathan storyline, eventually you had Nora and Nathan with other Nathan, and now they're like trying to read each other's mind. It's like, oh, what happened with Demi so-and-so from back in 7th grade or whatever? And he's like, oh, is that the first time you ever touched a boob? Grow up. And the other Nathan's like, no, her dog died. And yeah, we like took it to, like her dog get hit by a car or something like that. You know, her dog had died, but they had picked it up trying to take it to the vet because they gotten hit by a car or something like that. And Nora's like, oh, sorry. She assumed the worst about him, but it was actually a sweet memory. Well, a sad memory, but it was them doing something nice for someone. It's like, yeah, I'm not a complete and utter, like, sex craze, like, oh, bro type of dude. I have layers to me, and she kind of felt bad for, like, making the assumption, so. I also thought it was so cute when it's like Nora's heading in one direction, but backup Nathan's heading in another. And Nathan's like, oh, come on, we got to follow him. Like, that face looks like it knows where it's going. Nora's like, fine, you guys go rescue Luke, and I'll deal with, like, getting you more pills in the real world. It's like, oh, what do you need pills for? It's, I had to stop my head from exploding. Oh, cool. And then also, but when Nora was going, the other Nathan's like, yeah, but she was actually right. It's actually this way. He's like, oh, really? It's like, I guess he just kind of didn't want to give Nora, like, that victory. Just be like, yeah, no, actually, Nora was right. You know, I just kind of making a joking point, but like, no, actually, Nora was right. It's actually this direction, so. And obviously they had that whole conversation about, oh, what's like being with Nora? It's like, oh, no, it's like relationship stuff. It has its ups and downs. It's like, no, you don't have to spare my feelings. It's like, it feels like I'm right where I'm supposed to be. It's like, cool, bro. Exactly what I want to hear. It's like, oh, but how is it being with Ingrid? It must be rough. It's like, no, Ingrid's great. It's like, oh, she's still dressing you. He's like, well, yeah, I like what I'm wearing now better than what you're wearing. It's like, he got very touchy about it. Understandable. Once again, we're talking about a Nathan who still has feelings with Nora, because she even said, like, love you, and both of them say I love you, and then OG Nathan's like, come on, and he's like, yeah, I know, the moment I said. But I love how, I was curious, I was like, are they really, there's no way Nathan's going to sell out backup Nathan to save Luke, but it's like, no, it was a trick. It was the OG Nathan. All he had to do was like remove the virtual reality goggles, and he was able to like come back in. Which I love that he's like, yeah, I would have come back sooner, but I had to listen to all the warnings again, because it's like, oh yeah, like if you come to the library, you might find out about knowledge that might be uncomfortable with you. Which I'm like, is that supposed to be like it feels like it's supposed to be like this jokey, like, oh, like giving you a warning about like, oh yeah, like there's some uncomfortable stuff in this book because it might go against what you know or what you believe type of thing. Which I was like, that's an interesting warning. I think that's supposed to be like that a joke about like how someone will think like, well, I mean, I guess there's some aspects of reality that kind of fall into that category of just kind of like, let's change the past a little bit just to fit the more modern like sensibilities in some regards, especially when it comes to books that were written in an age that don't, like I said, represent our current sensibilities. But I love that Luke is so happy. It's like, oh, the possibilities, you know, with two Nathans. He's like, yeah, I could be the cream in between like a Nathan sandwich. And it's like, oh, bro, gross. It's like, once again, I'd go as far as saying I believe Luke loves Nathan more. Like, if I had to put the tier list, I'd have to say it goes Luke, Nora, and Ingrid tied for second, and a super close third is Nathan. You know, so I kind of have to put it in that order, so. But that's going to be the big thing of, like, now that backup Nathan is aware about OG Nathan and the life he's living with Nora, which some of that jealousy does kind of feel reminiscent of Mateo, because now, like, he knows, like, oh, the other me's head's going to explode. It's like, well, after his head explodes, that means me and Nora could potentially be. That might be something we tackle next episode. Maybe, maybe not. But I'm sure there's also a part of Nathan's like, nah, I'm not hoping for myself's like head to explode. I want him to live. Like, you know, he's happy, and I want there to be there should be two Nathan Browns out there in the world. It's like, yeah, it's like, you know, it's like becoming your other best friend or something like that. I think that'd be kind of neat if that's the route they end up going, and how each of those Nathans kind of interact with that and how they feel about that. So, which, speaking of Nora, she went to go try and get more pills for Nathan because Holden's dog ended up eating him, but luckily it turned out just to be Gas X pills, which for Nora, it's like, wait, yes, sure, he needs the pills, as Holden says, but it's like, why would he give Nathan just fart pills? I was like, was that a lie? I mean, But then, like, she shows up at her place, and it's this woman named Ethel being like, I've lived here this entire time. Do you want to come into my house? It's me, Ethel. Welcome to Ethel's house. I was like, cool, cool, cool. Could you be any more suspicious with the guy in leather in the back there? It's like, cool. No, I'm going to leave. And then all of a sudden, Nora gets chased by these two guys. So it's like, the question then becomes like, did they kill Dr. Kapoor? But it's like, no, like, he has to be on the inside. Like, he must have told someone about this. But then did they kill him after? Or could it have been, like, someone pretending to be Dr. Kapoor? Like, just like, maybe that's someone like, oh, I'm Ethel. Like, maybe we have someone downloading into these clones or something. So maybe the real Dr. Kapoor is dead, but there's just a clone of him. And that wasn't the real Dr. Kapoor. I don't know what to make of that. Like I said, not unless he's working with someone, which I'm wondering if there's going to be some overlap. Like I said, we have our brain trust of evil that all the rich and powerful people are associated with, which, you know, Lucy's boss is part of that. But I'm curious, you know, that Choke's a part of as well. But I'm like, which we still never got back to that storyline where things kind of left off of Ivan and Choke last episode. So that's going to be interesting to kind of pick up with that again. But Corinna, like, that's why I kind of brought up before. I'm like, I wonder, is she like a behind-the-scenes person where it's like, is she part of the trust of evil? Two, it's just that we've just never seen her interact with them. I mean, because these are people she's in the same circle with. So I brought that up last episode because I was like, oh, that would suck for Alicia because Alicia likes her and we don't know what direction that's going, which I also feel bad for Luke. I mean, he's going to be happy because he's found out about the two Nathans, but, you know, he's going to probably be sad the moment he finds out about Alicia and Corinna, like, having a thing just because it's like, oh, you know, because he's super into Alicia and she's into him, but she's also trying not to make the same mistake that Nora did and Tinsley did, who both fell for Nathan, you know? And then we had that weird ending with Nora where she wakes up in Lakeview and she's hearing Alicia saying like, oh, you made it to Lakeview. And you're like, so they must be putting her in like, they must like have her strapped in somewhere trying to make her seem like they must be trying to pump her for information, obviously, but they must have put her in a fake Lakeview. I wonder if we're going to find out they're Ludds, because that was something I brought up previously too. Like, other than like episode 1, we haven't really tackled the Ludds at all. That was the last time we really touched on the Ludds at all. So I'm curious, are we going to find out they are with the... I mean, like I said, the Ludds could just be laying low because they were blamed for something they didn't do. Even though it falls into their mission statement to some extent, it still goes against what they're all about. So we'll see. But speaking of Alicia, she's with Corinna and Lucy, and they downloaded the AI guy into a clone body, and they're trying to basically get him experienced in the real world, and once he's back, re-uploaded, like, it'll make it so that he learns and equates to being human faster. So it's all about heavily increasing the amount of knowledge really quickly about it, because it's like, yeah, having Alicia just teach them isn't working 100%. So I love the first one got hit by cars, like, don't worry, we got a backup clone, so we stick with the second guy, and it's just like, the sun's in his eyes, and it's like, right, you gotta look both ways. And I love Corinna being like, excellent work, and Lucy being like, I can't work. And it's like, they both look at her, she's like, yeah, I totally agree. It's like, oh, poor Lucy, because she's getting pushed out more and more. It's just like, yeah, like, Alicia works for me, I'm her boss, yet she's kind of like, eventually Alicia's going to end up outclassing Lucy, and she doesn't appreciate that. It's like, no, I'm kind of top dog around here, so... I do love how that storyline ends with the AI guy gave his hat to a homeless guy, which is also super messed up, and maybe this is a commentary in itself, that it's like, oh, there's these things put up that are meant to be like, oh, so that you don't have to see homeless people, which that's obviously is a very rich person thinking like, I don't want to see that. That's depressing. I mean, because Ingrid's literally talked about kind of a similar thing in Lakeview that she voted for, of like, oh yeah, like, people eating their like lowly poor meals. I don't want to see that, because she voted for something like that. So it's once again supposed to be that sad thing of like, oh yeah, out of sight, out of mind. Like, oh, let's put up this like illusionary thing to make it seem like, oh, this is one thing, when in actuality we're just covering up this homeless person living here. So, but the AI guy was like, oh yeah, that sun's like very bright here, and gave him the hat. Problem is that hat's the only way to track them, but you still see that look on Alicia's face because she's happy. It's like, wow, the AI guy is displaying empathy, but you also feel kind of like, well, I mean, obviously this is meant for customer-based service of like, yeah, making them more human is going to make the experience better, sure, but it's like, you also feel like there's got to be nefarious reasons for that as well. But the problem is they can't track the AI guy anymore. I mean, I wonder can they not communicate with him at all either? Well, I don't know if that was their only means of communicating. They was tracking him, but is that the only means of communicating with him is through the hat? So they can't watch anymore because the hat's on that homeless guy. But we know that the bodies can last a while because we have Nathan's circumstances. So the AI guy will, if he doesn't get hit by anything or killed, should be fine. He's supposed to only be going 10 vlogs, but like I said, if they're able to communicate with him, maybe they'll still be able to help him get back to the upload center, or maybe he's just going to be lost in the wild. It's going to be interesting to see where they do with that storyline. It's going to be interesting to see where all of this ends up taking us going forward into the next episode. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day, and goodbye.